Hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about using observation as a data collection tool. Why you should be doing that, in which circumstances you should be doing it, what are the different types of techniques, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of each technique. Now, the reason I am making this video is often I have seen research students missing observation as a data collection tool. Either they use it when they should not have used it, or they completely avoid using it for the fear of using it or for the work involved. So let's understand today, when should you be using observation as a data collection tool. So observation is when you observe your research environment, the environment which you want to study, and it's very systematic, it's very objective, and it can involve having a detailed understanding of your research area, because you are keenly observing what you want to learn about. Now, as an observation or a technique, or as an observer, you have to understand when to use it. Now, you use it when you are trying to study mainly the behavior patterns or of the participants, not necessarily the perception or what they think about something. You want to immerse yourself in that phenomena or in that experience, and understand why something happens the way it is happening. So simply getting responses, or what they feel, or what they perceive, or what is the understanding of the participants, is not enough for you to get an understanding of the topic. So you will not use observation as a technique when you know that the participants are either not knowledgeable about the topic, or they are afraid to detach themselves from the outcome, or they are hesitant to speak to you because they don't want to reveal all the information, or they don't have confidence in you as a researcher. Let me give you some examples. Now, let's say you are observing the impact of a salary deduction on employees in an organization. Now, when you start interviewing them, the employees will be very hesitant to speak to you for the fear of their organization. So although the salary reduction may be negatively harming them, they may not confide in you, they may not accept in front of you, because they might afraid that their organization is going to take a drastic action, or they might lose their job. Another example where the participants are unable to detach themselves from what they are doing is when you are trying to study a dietary pattern, why people eat certain foods in a certain community. Now, that could be something that they have been practicing since birth, and the observers or the participants have never thought about it. They don't know the reason behind it. They just do it maybe because it's a cultural practice, or because it's a religious practice. Now, asking them questions about what they do, why they do it, how it harms them, how it benefits them, may not get any appropriate or correct responses from them. They might just be repeating what they have learned from their parents or from their peers. So in such cases, it is important that you as an observer immerse yourself in that culture, in that phenomena, in that population, so to understand why certain things are happening. So there are two techniques observation. Of course, there is a participant and there is a non-participant. So you can be a participant in the observation technique. Let's say you are trying to study a prison, and how prisoners go about living their life in the prison. How are the facilities making it better or less? Like, for example, if you go to Norway or Finland, the prison system there is very different from what we normally see in the movies. So the prison system allows a lot of freedom to the prisoners. So if you want to understand what is the difference in the prison system of Norway versus what you may have in America or India or any other country, then you have to immerse yourself in that prison system, see how the prisoners go about their daily routine, what are the benefits they are getting, and what is their experience. So when you experience it yourself, you can write about it. Or you are trying to understand how convenient is a university system for handicap students. So you may have to then pretend that you have a handicap. You may borrow a wheelchair, and you try to move around in a wheelchair, and then find out how many places of access provide you support to use that wheelchair. So you become a participant in that research observation. So you're observing, you're actually experiencing it, and not only relying on what the participants or what your sample size or your population is telling you. So of course you have to use both techniques. You also have to interview your participants, but also you strengthen that data by becoming an observer and experiencing it yourself as well. All right, and then you have a non-participant observation. Non-participant observation is that you don't really need to become part of the population. You are just trying to study the behavioral patterns of a population. For example, you want to study how airline pilots respond to simulator or simulator training or simulation training, how they respond to high stress environment, how does it affect their decision making. So if you are trying to study that, or you are trying to study how a new kind of a teaching or assessment method is leading to class interaction between students and teachers, then you don't have to become a student. You can just observe and note down your observations. So these are the two areas or these are the two types of observation techniques. Now you have to understand what is the advantages and disadvantages of each. Now remember, there is something called the observer bias. Observer bias is when you're observing it and you want a certain outcome, but when you don't get it, you don't report it in your notes. Or you have a subconscious bias where automatically you are ignoring the data that you should be noting, which may be either in contradiction to what you expected to find, or you are just ignoring it for because you are not really observing it accurately. So that's called an observer bias. So in such cases, you may have another observer with you and noting the events as well. However, the problem sometimes is that one observer's interpretation is very different from another observer's interpretation. So sometimes that issue will come up, that your notes will not match the person's notes who's standing next to you and observing the same phenomena. Another disadvantage of observation is called the Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect is when the participants know that you're observing them. So when they know you're observing them, then they change their behavior to suit your needs, especially when they know that you're observing them for a particular reason. So they will adjust their behavior. You will not really get to know whether this is your genuine behavior or not. Now, one way to go about it is, of course, to not let the participants know that you're observing them. But there are cases, especially there are some ethical concerns where you have to let your participants know, especially if you are video recording them or you are audio recording them. Then sometimes some universities, and depending on the area of research, of course, you have to let the participants know that they are being recorded and they are being observed. So another disadvantage is that sometimes as an observer, you are so involved in the observation process that you forget to make detailed notes. Or on the other hand, you are so busy in making detailed notes that you forget to observe, or you are unable to observe some key patterns in the behavior or some key phenomena that is happening in the area that you are researching. So a good idea about going about this is, of course, recording what you're observing or including another observer, or repeated observation, making sure that you have observed a population long enough to be able to understand them. Remember that in your research write-up, you have to justify why you used observation. Why did you have to, why could you have not avoided, or why did you have to use it? You have to justify why you used it or why you did not use it. Remember to be able to justify it. And when you write about using it as a data collection tool, you have to address how you address the observer's bias, how you address the Hawthorne effect, how you avoided any kind of bias coming up from in your studies as well. So have a think about it before you decide to use it. Have a discussion with your research supervisors as well. Have a discussion with people who have used this as a technique, and get to know what are the challenges they faced, what were the problems, what were the advantages, and what were the tools they used to make sure that they have detailed notes and they did not miss anything. So I hope today's video was useful and you understood something about observation as a data collection technique. I will try to make further videos about this, give you some short snippets and some short and not too long of videos where I give you some tips about these data collection tools, and I hope they are handy to you. Please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you soon with my next video. Bye.